up and try your luck. Here's a new contraption that tells you exactly how many miles you get to the gallon. A gas gauge that mounts right on the windshield to test gasoline mileage on your car, which settles a lot of gasoline alley arguments about who gets the most miles on a gallon. Now, when your neighbor says he can outrun you on a gallon of gasoline, you needn't find yourself stranded 6 miles from the nearest gas station when you finish up, and you can both go along to see that there's no snitching. Motorists everywhere are trying this new game of checking gasoline mileage, and besides settling a lot of arguments, they're taking all the guesswork out of gasoline economy.
Now, before you turn away, this is not another boring hybrid car thing. We're going to show you some fascinating technology that is affordable. I think this will probably be the future of hybrid. Let's meet Tom Apostles. Tom, come on in. You're head of Ricardo North America, is that what it is?
Americas.
Americas. Oh, Americas.
Americas.
Okay.
How are you, Jay?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Now, if you're not familiar with this company, you guys were behind the P1 as well. And Ricardo's been around, what, about 100 years?
Yeah, you're right. For the last 100 years, Jay, we've been driving technology and developing innovation that pushes boundaries and challenges convention. Our heritage is powertrain, engine, transmission. And Harry Ricardo was one of the foremost design engineers in the early years of the internal combustion engine.
And you don't look at much over 40, so I was going to say for 100, that's actually quite good.
I appreciate that.
The company. The main problem with hybrids is they're more expensive than gas cars.
Correct.
And you got to drive them for years and years to make up the difference, the $10,000 or $15,000 difference. This is a totally new kind of hybrid. And I was reading up over the week, and it's fascinating. Tell people what we have here.
We took a stock Ford Focus 2009. Mm-hmm. We've downsized the engine from the stock 2-liter to a 1.1 liter.
Okay, so that scares guys right there. You take the big engine out and you put a little engine in.
Correct.
But the advantage...
Then we've added a turbocharger and also an electrically driven supercharger.
Right.
Well, the 1-liter engine has a turbocharger, and the electrically driven supercharger brings the boost on to make up for the turbo lag. So what we're trying to give the driver, the vehicle dynamic, or the vehicle feel, is that you've got a smaller engine in there, but it feels like a very torquey, peppy engine that's fun to drive.
Right, and the electric supercharger does away with the hesitation of the boost.
Correct. It comes in and does what's known as a torque fill, and it gives you that immediate transient response, which fills that gap until the mechanical turbocharger spools up.
Right. Now that's basically what the P1 does. In the P1, you have an electric supercharger running off the end of the crank.
Correct.
So when that turbo lag, that millisecond of lag is gone because the supercharger is spinning to help overcome that. And that's basically what this does. Not that this is any way a miniature P1, but the thinking is the same, isn't it?
By downsizing the engine and boosting it, drive some economy, improved environmental efficiency in terms of emissions, and also, again, let the package be a fun vehicle to drive for the consumer.
Yeah, the part I found interesting was it comes out to about $1,100 per vehicle.
Yeah, so it's an $1,100 on cost over the original package.
Which to me, I think, because so many hybrids or even alternatives like hydrogen, well, once you get past the initial $50,000, okay, well, thank you. Now, it's just not usable. And there's no plug-in, right? So it's all self-sustaining.
Correct.
So it's basically a gasoline car that uses electricity to augment and creates its own electricity.
Exactly.
All right, well, let's bring in Paul Rivera. You're the, what is your title?
Hi, Jay, thanks. I'm the Global Director.
Global Director.
Yes, Global
so
Director.
You're just America.
Hybrids and electrification
you're
for
just the
Ricardo.
Americas. All right. Okay, so you handle the rest of the world. All
yes,
right.
That's true.
Very good.
And thank you very much for having Tom and I here. We appreciate it.
Good. All right, now, Paul, you going to take over for us?
Yeah, I'll show you the technology.
All right,
I'll show
Tom,
you how it works.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
What we have here is a 2009.
It's a 2009 Ford Focus.
Okay.
It's right-hand drive because it's coming from the UK. Okay, and I'm going to show you the technology underneath the hood first, and then we'll also look under the back as well.
Right. Now, is this pretty much what a finished car would look like, or is this just sort of?
No, this is just for demonstration purposes right now.
Let's see what we got. Okay. Once again, no one has improved on the stick, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, you can electric, hybrid, gas, hydrogen.
High-tech.
Nobody beats the stick. All right.
Okay, so Jay, just to repeat what we've done here, we've taken a 2-liter Ford Duratec engine out of the vehicle, okay? And that engine put off about 169 grams of carbon, okay, of CO2, excuse me. And in that engine, you would get about 32 miles per gallon is what you would get. We've downsized the engine. It's a 1-liter Ford engine that's in here now. And typically you would just have the airflow right into the turbocharger, okay, the mechanical turbocharger.
Right.
But as you know, it takes time for the mechanical turbocharger to spool.
Right.
So what we've done here is we have this Y and we have the valve here. The valve closes, we force the air back through the back, and if you could come around here, Jay, and you look down here, you can see that there's an electric supercharger down here. The electric supercharger acts instantaneously, almost instantaneously, 200 milliseconds. So the minute you put your foot on the pedal, boom, it's there.
Right, so that's forcing air to the turbocharger.
Correct.
That's fooling the turbocharger into thinking that the engine is revving at 5,000 or 6,000 RPM.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's where you get the torque fill.
Right.
And then it comes on for about 2.5, 3 seconds. As soon as you're spooled up here on the turbocharger, then the electric supercharger kicks out.
Is that a big draw all of a sudden?
It is actually a big draw.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why, because the electric supercharger is a larger draw, and because we also have to have a belt starter generator,
Right.
which is down underneath the main pulley here.
Right.
That's why we needed a little bit more energy on the vehicle.
Okay.
So instead of just having the 12-volt battery, which you see here, in the rear of the vehicle, which I'll show you, we have supercapacitors.
Explain what a capacitor is to people who don't know, who don't quite understand.
It's basically an energy storage.
Right. It's storage, it's like another battery.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
Yep. So on this vehicle, we call this a 12 plus X mild hybrid because it's got the 12-volt battery, and then it has the supercapacitors in the back. Okay. So the way it works is that when the vehicle is running, the belt starter generator creates the energy and puts it back into the supercapacitors. And then the supercapacitors, when you need the energy, the supercapacitors deliver back to the electric supercharger or back to the belt starter generator.
Okay.
In this case, the electric supercharger is 24 volt, runs around 70,000 RPM, and like I said, it's instantaneous. Hits in 200 milliseconds.
Okay,
you can
so
feel it.
this car, when I pull up to a stoplight, I take my foot off the gas, engine dies?
That's right. The engine is a stop-start vehicle, so the
Stops,
engine
okay.
will
So
cut
then,
off.
okay, then the minute I touch the gas, it's pretty seamless and kicks in.
That's right.
But I mean, it looks complicated under the hood compared to, well, we'll show you what we're talking about. Let's go to the back.
I should just point out that Jay, Ford Motor Company was very involved in this program with us. It's a research and development program that we did with Ford. The first phase was called HyBoost. We also worked with CPT, and we also worked with Valio and Imperial College in London. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is because we're now doing a follow-on program with Ford Motor Company called ADEPT, and that is looking at 48-volt mild hybrids right now.
Well, the thing we haven't talked about is, most car companies, when they come out with something new, they're looking for 1% fuel improvement, 3%, 8% will be unbelievable. This is what,
47%.
47% increase in fuel economy. Well, let's take a look at the
back.
Come on. Okay.
So, like I said to you, typically you wouldn't see it packaged like this. It would be packaged, we would use the real estate of the vehicle, and it would
Right.
be packaged nicely. But for the purposes of demonstrating, we wanted to be able to lay it out so everybody could see. So you have the supercapacitor bank here,
Right.
okay, and you have a DC to DC converter right there. So what happens is the belt starter generator puts the energy into the supercaps, and the supercaps are either the supercapacitors, and the supercapacitors are either running the belt starter generator or the electric supercharger.
Dumb question, does this make heat? Does this get warm?
It does get warm, but it's very little.
Right.
It's very little.
This is all proven technology. There's no breakthrough stuff here, right? You got capacitor.
That's correct.
Right. I mean, so these are all existing equipment. There's nothing experimental here. It's just
That's
putting
the
these
beauty
things
of
together.
it.
Yeah,
The supply chain, as we say,
Right.
is mature. Want to drive it?
Yeah, let's take it for a spin. And what is the horsepower with the system?
So it's 143 horsepower at 5,500 RPMs.
Okay. And what would
the base vehicle?
Yeah.
The base vehicle was 145 horsepower at 6,000 RPMs.
Right,
So,
okay.
so Jay, we've come very close to matching the base horsepower. Same 0 to 60 time. We can do it in 9.2 seconds for this vehicle. But the torque is better. So the torque on the base vehicle was 185 Newton meters at around 4,000 RPMs.
Right.
And this is 240 Newton meters at 3,500 RPMs.
Well, we go foot-pounds here, but Newton
Foot-pounds, yeah, that's right.
Newton meters to Americans sounds like some kind of cookie. Oh, it's got a fig in it, and it's a little meter thing.
It's
and
a Newton.
Yeah,
it's a
Newton meter. They're delicious.
you're driving a vehicle that gets 55 to 60 miles per gallon.
Right. It's amazing.
And look, we're two good-sized guys.
Yeah.
And we've had 4 people in here before, and it still has a lot of pep, and you feel like it's still fun to drive. You're not giving up that performance.
Yeah.
I know you're excited about getting your P1.
Yeah.
And Ricardo was instrumental in working with McLaren to develop the battery management system for the P1.
Right. Well, even the P1 using the hybrid technology gets 34 miles per gallon.
It's
which
incredible.
Is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
For new technology to succeed, it can't be equal. It's got to be better. And it's like when the Wankel came out. Everybody thought, oh, that's going to be the great savior. It's lightweight, it spins. Yeah, but the mileage wasn't as good or even comparable.
Right.
So consequently, ultimately, it failed. You know, it's got to beat it in every part of the program. Like at this, it's $1,100, so it's cheaper. It gets better mileage. I don't see any downside to it. It's,
no, and this is where it's headed. And you can feel the vehicle turns off when you're at a stoplight.
Right.
And then once the light turns green, you'll feel, as you put your foot on the accelerator, you will feel that torque feel.
Right,
you will
right.
feel it very quickly.
Yeah, this feels like a 2 or 3 liter engine to me. I
Exactly.
can't tell how tiny this is. And like we said before, starter generators or starter alternators are nothing new. They've been around for years and years. I've got a 1915 Franklin, and that's got a starter generator. You turn and it spins, and as soon as the engine starts, it converts to a generator. So it's proven
not new
technology.
technology. That's
Yeah,
right. It's out there.
proven.
It's
Yeah.
available right now in the market. It's just how do you combine that technology? You can feel that supercharger when you push on the accelerator. That's great. Wow.
Wow,
You can
look at that. Got a little
you can
chirp.
feel that, yeah? You feel it?
Question. Why not just put a battery back there as opposed to a supercapacitor?
Well, at the time that we were doing this program, originally the concept was to try to keep it in a 12 volt range, but 12 volts wasn't enough.
Right.
And so in this case, we did a study at that time on advanced lead acid and looking at maybe a supplementary battery instead, but supercapacitors just worked better for this.
Right,
The
okay.
floating voltage works better.
Right.
But that's why I say that in the future, though, it is all headed towards 48 volt advanced lead acid or 48 volt lithium ion. How's it feel to you when you're driving?
Good,
You
let's
feel it,
see.
right?
And you put your foot in it, and
There you go.
all right, what we're going to do now is we're going to shut off the supercharger and just show you what this car would be like
Without it.
without it. Go ahead.
Okay, so what you need to do is you need to drop down to about, try to slow the vehicle down, get down to third gear, 1800 RPMs, more or
Okay.
less.
All right.
And tell me when you're around there.
Okay, I'm at 1200 RPM.
Okay, ready? So I'm going
Right.
to shut it off. Now try to go.
Oh boy, this thing is.
It's a dog.
Yeah.
See the difference?
Okay.
It takes a while for the turbo to spool up.
Right, it takes a while to turbo.
And
spool
that's
up,
the
yeah.
that's the technology.
You know, anybody that drove an early Porsche Turbo knows what he's talking about. All right, let's turn it back
Turn it
on.
back
I want
on.
my power back.
I know you do.
Okay.
The way it's working is we're putting 6 kilowatts back in,
Okay.
and we're taking 4 out.
So what you're saying is the supercharger shuts off at what, 5,500 RPM, something like
Yeah,
that?
it comes in about 200 milliseconds, and it lasts for about 2.5 seconds, 3 seconds, just long enough to allow
Right.
the turbo to come in at around 5,500 RPMs.
Yeah. It almost seems like something that would be tough to patent because people could say, "Oh, we've known that for years." It's just nobody's incorporated it.
I think the trick is the software blend. It's how
Yeah,
to make
yeah.
all of those components work together.
Yeah.
And this project, Jay, was a 4-year project,
Yeah.
so it wasn't an overnight.
Could you adapt this to a 2-liter engine and get even more power?
Yes, you
Okay.
could. You could do that, and
that-
there's some interesting, let's say, performance enhancing options as
Right.
well for people in motorsport, let's say.
And that's basically the thinking behind the P1, isn't it? Now, you guys build the V8 for McLaren, correct?
That's correct. So
Right, okay.
we worked with McLaren in collaboration, and we designed and engineered.
That's my
and built the
favorite motor.
MP4
didn't that win Motor of the Year?
Engine of the year last year.
Yeah.
This is not that complex.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
software maybe, but the componentry not.
Yeah.
You know.
You should tell us as a kid so guys could build it themselves.
Well, Interestingly enough, we are actually looking at those options.
Really? Well, I want to thank Paul and Tom and Ricardo for coming by with this. I find this kind of stuff really exciting. I like the fact that he said there's even talk of selling this as a kit you could adapt to your own vehicle, and it's really interesting. I mean, I like the fact that it can be done inexpensively, and it's all technology we all know about already anyway. So check out the Ricardo website. They've got some cool stuff on there, and when we get the P1, we'll find out some more Ricardo stuff too. We gotta go to England and see how they make that engine.
And thanks, Jay. Thanks for having Tom and I. We really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Jay.
So,
thanks so much.
check it out. This is cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.